Hey, welcome back, YouTube. It's a very foggy morning here in Southern California. I'm about ready to head out to work, but I did want to touch on a few things. This is Adventure Vin with Adventure Motorcycle Riding, specifically my KLR 650. But I'm also doing some pre-planning for my next big trip, which is going to be a 3-week round trip in August to Los Angeles to Chicago and back on Route 66. And on that note, I have done some previous videos on some books, and I'm going to do some on maps right now. But before I get started, I want to revisit one of the videos I did, second video I did on books. I was talking about a starter pack, which included some books and maps. I mentioned this one here, this EZ guide, once again available on Amazon, and you'll see this featured a lot on YouTube videos. One thing I wanted to mention that I had forgot is that this author does really good on routing, giving you the option to go the traditional westbound. And then over here, he'll have like the eastbound. It looks like this is actually transposed. It looks like it's backwards, but that's not the important part. The important part I want to mention is that this book is really good as you travel in certain directions on Route 66. There's going to be some roadside attractions that are going to be more accessible on the westbound or the eastbound route. And why I mention that is if you have some strict planning time, or if you're doing a round trip like myself, I'm planning mine so the ones that are more accessible when I'm traveling westbound, or rather eastbound initially, those are the ones I'm going to hit on the way to Chicago. And then on my return trip, I'm going to hit some of those westbound stops that are a little bit easier to get to. No matter if you're traveling east or west, you can get to these. All of them are accessible no matter which direction you're traveling, but some of them you're going to have to actually pass it and then backtrack, get back on the freeway and backtrack and get to it. So I do advise that you pay attention to that as you look at this, and those are also prevalent on some of the maps that I'll be explaining too. The other thing I mentioned this book here as one of the books I would recommend as a starter book. It is a great book, and if you had purchased it, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I've enjoyed mine. It just goes through like you're traveling from Chicago to Los Angeles, and it mentions some topics in here. Now, why I'm going to recant on that is that I didn't have this one on me. I couldn't find it. But other than that, if you haven't picked this one up yet, I would go with this one as a starter. The main difference is that this one, I am very map-centric, and this one will talk about the locations, and then they'll give you an area map. And now that I'm looking for it, I can't find one, but there are certain here we go. So the Blue Whale of Catoosa, it'll actually have like a little aerial map. Now, of course, by the time you start getting these packs, you're probably gonna have maps to associate with it. But it's just nice to have a description of what you want to see and a brief map right next to it. So I like this one. Once again, this one also can be found on Amazon. If you can buy them used, every book I've ever bought used off of Amazon has come in like near new condition. So see if you can find that new. And I apologize, as I'm looking at the camera, the way I have it orientated, everything's reading backwards, so I apologize for that. One of the other maps now I'm going to get into my map series. One map I just wanted to point out, I haven't really got in depth on, is this one I got for free at the AAA. At the AAA, little plane flying over my head. This one I got for free. What I like about this one is that it does show the whole route, but I'm going to bring it in real close. What I like about it, it gives a lot of blank space where I was able to highlight and pencil in some of the things that weren't on it that I've gathered from other maps and guidebooks. So I've kind of filled in with pencil some of the specific stuff that I wanted to see or do. And it has some of that dead space, but it is still to scale, and it's still a AAA roadmap. And it has the exit numbers and everything. Why I wanted to point that out is one of my other favorite maps to refer to is this one here, which is hard to actually find again. I don't know where you're going to be able to find this. Maybe at a bookstore or a souvenir shop on Route 66. But this one here has a lot of details, but if you look at it, there's really not a lot of room to write or edit or add your own destinations or itinerary. It's just so full of different roads, icons, your basic atlas type of roadmap. Still very valuable, but not applicable to edit. This one kind of does the same thing, and this one I'll probably bring along with me. it's a plastic one, so it'll be durable like in wet weather. And this one does have some other road maps, but I don't write on this one. And this one has some blown up of the cities, so I'll probably bring this plastic one with me. I pointed this one out earlier. This one's a really cool one, more of a overall, but if you look at the maps on this one, they're just, I mean, they're cool because it shows you some of the stops, but it's not as roadworthy. I wouldn't use this for navigation or direction. They're very informative and a very fun one to have, but don't put that on your top of your list. Also available on Amazon. State maps are great. I have a state map for each one. I probably won't be carrying them, but state maps are really cool to reference ahead of time. But since I'm going to be doing Route 66 on a motorcycle, I'm not going to have a lot of room. So if you're in a car or an RV, I would recommend bringing state maps. And whatever maps you get, make sure you get the latest edition, the latest versions, and same with the guidebooks, because stores, establishments open and close. Maps get updated probably annually. So this is another popular series. Here it is on Route 66. These maps are per state. Actually, since Kansas only has 13 miles of Route 66, let's look at this one. So these are maps that have guidebook information in them, and a lot of information written on the front and the backs of these maps to learn more about Route 66. I recommend these are really cool maps to have because there may be some information on these that you don't find on guidebooks. I like the art on it. I think they do a really good job on drawing and pointing out some really cool stuff on Route 66. But as you see, this is more of an estimate point of interest type of map where it's maybe to scale, but this is more of a map that you would use to get an idea where you wanted to go, and then I would refer back to some of those other detailed maps or that other book with the spiral binding on it to get better directions and know where you're going. But I think these are very cool art, and there's some information on it, and it kind of gives you the feel of people who have traveled the route and what their experiences were. So if you have the time and money, I would recommend this series, and I believe this is also on Amazon. I'm not sure where I got mine at. Probably Amazon. So if any of these maps seems to be really interesting, or these books, and you want to leave a comment, want me to go a little bit deeper into it, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see what I can do. As time goes on, I'm going to rotate some of these videos. Some of them will be specifically speaking about the KLR 650, the motorcycle I'll be using on my trip. Other ones I'll be going into the apparel and safety gear I wear. And then other times I'll be going into Route 66 specifically, the pre-planning. Now I'm not going to go to August. Right now we're in May. But this Memorial Day weekend, since I live in Southern California, I will be planning to hit the Barstow Museum, Route 66 Museum, the Victorville Route 66 Museum, and also the McDonald's, the historic McDonald's Museum it's from the McDonald Brothers, not the corporation, but from the McDonald Brothers. If you ever seen that movie, The Founder, I think that's a really cool movie to watch. So I'll be actually getting on the motorcycle this weekend, aside from my commute to and from work, and hitting some of the Route 66 sites, and quite possibly on some intermediate stops, I'll be doing some KLR reviews on how my motorcycle's operating. But it's really going to be dedicated to the Route 66 experience. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Adventure Vin. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Most importantly, get out there and ride. Life's an adventure, so make your journey a good one.